having a presence online, I want people to know the people that you look up to, that you think have it together, they have moments where they break a little bit, and that's okay. Welcome to Isn't That Poetic, the series where 3 writers sit down and explore your questions about self-fulfillment, relationships, and healing. I'm Jacqueline.
I'm Brianna.
And I'm Bianca.
You can follow us on social media to find our work through the description box of this episode. Whether you are streaming this episode on Facebook or YouTube or listening in as a podcast, thank you for being here. Follow Isn't That Poetic on Instagram and Twitter for exclusive updates, behind-the-scene content, and opportunities to submit topics for future episodes for us to unpack. Today we're talking about healing, and this topic is so important for me to bring to this series because there have been so many seasons of my life where I was asking myself, will I get through this? And already getting emotional because I want people to listen to this and not feel so alone in what they're going through. So
I'm crying.
It's like when I'm so grateful to be with both of you today because you never know when you're in the presence of people that you care about and you talk about these things. It helps you heal, and that's another thing that I want to get into and talk about the healing that goes into getting through difficult seasons. And it's okay to not heal from something right away, and it's okay to take your time and work through seasons of healing and having seasons of silence and seasons of just learning to be still with your soul and giving it the nurture and permission to just be. And it's okay to feel those raw emotions, and clearly I'm still feeling those raw emotions in different ways.
You're a living testament to that. I feel like we have to normalize being emotional, and we've been taught so much in society to keep it down and to keep it locked away and to be this vault and to only do our healing in the stillness or alone. But we heal more and we elevate ourselves more and we nourish our souls more in the presence of other people who have also been through the same things, who can see us at our darkest, who can see us cry, who can see us express ourselves, who can hear about the grittiest, messiest, hardest things that we have ever had to deal with when we were the person who was making mistakes or when we had things done to us that we didn't deserve. That person, those people around you, seeing you in that vulnerability and seeing you in that element of honesty will empower not only you to be more open, but it also opens the world itself. When you heal yourself and when you share in that healing, you're also healing other people and giving them the gift of being able to do that for others.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah, Jacqueline, I appreciate you so much that you are so willing all the time to show up and be vulnerable and be honest with us, but also with like everyone. It's such a beautiful thing that you do for others, and I appreciate so much having
my goodness, the tears are coming because I think it's so important. I think we have to give ourselves permission to, like, coming into this, I felt anxiousness because, and I share about it in my writing and stuff, but when you feel so deeply and you go through things that you think you've healed from, but they're always going to be there within you somewhere, and you will let go of it. But like Brianna and I were talking about recently, it's like you have to be able to speak it into existence and have someone else there to validate it. And that's exactly what both of you just did for me right there when I was in that raw moment of, I didn't even know I was going to get emotional coming into this conversation. And I write about it and I talk with both of you all the time and other people, and I don't get emotional, but I think I feel a connection to anyone that is listening, and I feel like this is an opportunity for them to hear my voice and feel it's okay to break a little bit. It's okay to feel that empathy, and it's okay to let yourself just be with it and have other people around you to absorb what you're saying, and it's okay to let your truth come out and speak what you're feeling, and people aren't going to judge you if you say what you're feeling. And
not people who love you.
Not people.
I know.
People who love you want you to just to be yourself. And like this week, you were sitting on my couch, and I was like thanking you for holding space for me while I was working through something. And we did talk about that, because I said to you, I was like, I appreciate so much just that you're being present for me right now, and you're just hearing me out. You know what I mean? Like, you're just really holding space for me and seeing me. And I think that is so deeply validating, and I think that one of the biggest things that heals stuck emotions is the validation of them. And sometimes we can't do it for ourselves, and so we are blessed to have people in our lives who can step in and say, I understand why you feel this way, 100%. I understand where you are coming from. If I was in that situation, I don't even think I could handle it as well as you are right now. Do you know what I mean? I was telling you before that there are these periods of our lives that are meant to be for stillness and silence. And we think that that's maybe boring, or we're not being productive or moving forward. But the honest truth is, I believe that coming into stillness and silence is where our most profound healing happens. It's where our most important clarity comes through. And it is also one of the toughest states to bring yourselves in, because, I mean, how easy is it to create chaos and pain around us when we feel chaos on the inside? How brave to have chaos on the inside, but to create a moment for stillness where you can ground in like that still, you know, I imagine the mind is like a pond of water. Could we stop dropping pebbles for a second just to let it come? We can see what's underneath. You know what I mean? That's when we can really see through to what's inside of us. Sorry, I just talking.
No, I love that. I love that. I was like going off of that tangent. I'm inspired when people talk about healing in that way, because I do think that as we grow, the world also is growing with us, and we are being given the opportunity to distract ourselves at every moment. And some of us distract ourselves in relationships. We become codependent. We don't want to deal with our own internal or individual world because it is too scary and too gritty and too dark. And so we put our healing in the hands of someone else, and we think that they will save us, and that they will fix us, and that they will heal us just through loving us or being in our life. But we have to understand that we can do that ourselves too. I also think that we put our healing in the hands of social media, being able to scroll your pain away, being able to compartmentalize it, to put it in a box, and to just distract your mind. Television, everything that allows you to not sit with yourself, we have been given the opportunity to find it. Drugs, alcohol, numbing yourself, whatever, your poison might be, anything that you have an unhealthy attachment to as a means of distracting yourself, and almost like trying to heal yourself through those things, or not even looking at your healing alone just because you are so focused on other things. Those are the things that the world is giving us, and to be able to put those things down, to be able to say, no, I'm going to sit with this, I'm going to feel this, to let that feeling wash over you, to really sit in the dirt and I call it like the stink of it all, like that stuff that you just want to avoid, where you don't even, you don't want to pick it up, to be able to sit with yourself and to really sit with everything going on inside of you. That is the most courageous, that is the bravest thing that you can do, because it's going to change your life, but it's really hard to choose that change.
Have you ever just had a moment in your life where you just cried it out?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And on the other side of that,
Clearly.
on the other side of it, like
Yeah.
you almost like didn't think about the thing again. Like, have you ever experienced that? Like you
Absolutely.
resisted this like pain and discomfort for so long, and then I will actually, this is like something that I do in my like, I guess, emotional regulation practice, where I will just take times to junk journal, is what I call it. So I open a journal and I expressly state at the top, the intent of me writing this is not to make it more real or to give it any more life. It's for me to get out some thoughts or feelings that I've been having. So I just junk journal, just whatever is in me. And then I put it on a timer. So I'm like, you have 3 hours this afternoon to like lay down and sob. And then honestly, every single time before the 3 hours is up, I'm like, I'm done. There's nothing, I'm clear and I'm at peace. And then I notice my life immediately afterwards improves. It was like I was holding this frequency, this energy inside of me that was kind of almost having a ripple effect on everything else around me. And all I really had to do was like let it out. And I think that when we're young, we're taught that some emotions are okay to have,
Yep.
and others are not okay to have.
Absolutely.
And the piece of the puzzle that is always missing is it's discernment and what we consciously, actively choose to act on, okay? We need to embrace and express the deepest pits of our emotions, because what gets repressed expresses itself in far more insidious ways than the emotion itself could ever impact us. So it's about understanding, hey, I can feel the worst I've ever felt. That does not mean my life is the worst it's ever been. It doesn't mean that I'm a horrible person. It just means that this is a feeling I am having right now, and I can consciously choose what I act on, and that will be the building blocks and the foundation of my life.
Yeah.
Not just what I think and feel, but what I take of those auto-suggestions that my mind and my heart comes up with. And it's what am I going to return to? What am I going to work with and bring more of into my life? Because I think when we just follow our thoughts wherever they may lead, they don't always get us to where we really want to be.
Yeah.
I feel like what do we always say? We are our own worst critics.
We truly are.
Absolutely.
Nobody will hate us more than ourselves, but nobody will take care of us more than ourselves. And that's
We are responsible.
That's right. That's what that was what we have to move into. Of I know I can go to this dark place, but I can also go to the opposite as well. You know what I mean?
I think sometimes we get very comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think we
yes.
don't realize there's such a fear attached to feeling, and unless we feel, we won't heal, and unless we feel those feelings and we know going into it, this is going to be uncomfortable, but the freedom I will find after I feel it and work through it is so much better than those feelings that you're feeling in the darkness. And for me, I feel like life was good, and then a certain year hit and I went through something that changed my life forever. And in the moment that I was going through it, I thought it was the worst thing that could happen in this moment of my life. But looking back now, I think it's important for me to know that sometimes in the darkest moments of my life I wouldn't have found the light that I found now without those moments.
I think that's something that I would really love for you to touch on. And you've talked about this before. I mean, we've all talked about this before, but healing is not linear. And there are going to be days that are full of light where you feel like you are the best possible version of yourself. Everything is extending out of you. Love is pouring out of your fingertips. Everything is beautiful and kind and tender and soft. And then there are going to be days where life just yanks you back, where it pushes you back 10 steps, and where you're almost kind of shocked because you're like, I don't want to be here again.
How am I back here?
How am I back here again?
Absolutely.
How am I here again?
How am I here again? We think of healing and the movies and everything that we've been sold, it really does try to teach us that healing is just this line, that you start here in the dark of it all and you end up somewhere light. Whereas healing truly, and we've spoken about this so much, there are ups, there are downs. There are downs that are further down than the darkest down that you could ever imagine. And there are highs that are higher than the highest high you could ever imagine. And that is what healing is, moving through the highs and the lows consistently. I don't know if it's ever going to be something that happens definitively. It is something that will change shape. Healing is something that changes shape over time.
That's so beautifully said. Something that I really deeply believe, and I am writing my next book about, this is not a plug, that healing is not a recovery to what we were. It's actually a rebirthing into a completely different person. And that's why it's not linear, and that's why it goes back and forth, and that's why it gets harder before it gets better. We are not returning to what we were before. That person is gone. We are consciously creating the person that we want and need to be moving forward. Those experiences, what they showed us was that the people that we were in those moments could no longer sustain, handle, or hold what our lives were bringing in. The only option was a period of positive disintegration where we let go of the people, and I want to say very often that we unconsciously adapted into.
Yep,
Absolutely.
And this is not even our honest truths. Do you know what I mean? These people that we became almost by default through coping mechanisms, through what other people expected us to be. Survival, 100%.
Yeah.
We are being given a chance to release that and to start more mindfully and consciously building our lives and ourselves in a way that is in alignment and a reflection of who we are on the inside. I'm sure you will say the same, but there have been so many moments in my life where I had that awakening moment, and honestly, it's usually the same each time, which is, well, okay, this is not the person I am. This is not, it's almost like you get called into an awakening of you see yourself for a second, and you're like, hey, this is not the person I am. This is not who I'm going to be. Maybe this thing hurt me, but I have to do something and go on a journey now so this doesn't control me for the rest of my life. And the way is that I have to become a different person.
And we have to take control of our own lives. Like, it's so important for us to have people that can hold us up, and we're in this season of healing. And when we are in that low state of energy and we're negative, I could talk about negative energy for hours because negative energy is so toxic. And the people that we choose to bring into our circles, if they have negative energy, we are going to feel it, and it's going to bring us there. But until we surround ourselves with the people and the thoughts that are positive and speaking as if we already healed, if we can think in a way that we've already healed, and yes, I say we're healing, and it's okay to not heal from something you thought you healed from, but if we can start thinking in a way that we're already healed, the past is in the past. No one's thinking about it. We are so hard on ourselves, and I constantly...
We keep it alive, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. Why do we keep it alive?
Wouldn't you say we keep it alive?
It's gone.
We continue allowing our wounds to wound us
and why
instead
do we,
of just healing them.
Why do we find it so much easier to believe in someone else's healing than ourselves?
I know, honestly.
You know?
We're all like, well, okay.
Questions that have changed my life. Who would you be if you woke up tomorrow and you were completely healed? Just even being willing to imagine that person starts connecting you to them. The other one that was, I mean, truly changed the ground on top of which I stood. Are you willing to even consider that something more is possible for you? I don't even need you to believe it just yet. When you're all the way down here, we're trying to get all the way up here. And I'm talking about a state of consciousness, right? So like by down here, I mean like you're in the depths of it, right? There's no self-belief, you're just like in the thick of it. It's all going up to a place of being like fully healed. It's so extreme that it almost, trying to reach for it almost like pushes you further down. And so the path forward is little, what I call micro shifts. It's little tiny steps forward, 1% each day kind of thing. And those steps consist of asking ourselves, am I even willing to just consider that maybe something else is possible for me? Do you see all those qualifiers that I said in there? And that was what I kind of had to do for my mind at some times. Someone said like, you're gonna have a great life. I'd be like, there's no way. You know what I mean? There's no way. I'm so far away from feeling that and knowing that. I can't even get to that place right now, but could I get to a place of, am I willing to consider that maybe I can fix one thing? Could I change one line of my story? Because what happens when we change one little piece of our lives or one little line of our story is that it has a ripple effect on everything else around us. When we become someone, let's say we were a hot mess in horrible relationships, terrible with money, no direction in our career, want to die. Could we change one of those things? So I'm a hot mess that is maybe a little bit okay in relationships, still terrible with money, like a tiny bit of direction in life, still kind of want to die, but not really. Do you see how when we start shifting one, the others, because if we move one into I have healthy relationships in my life, does it make sense to you if you have healthy relationships or you have direction in your life that you would also be someone who doesn't take care of themselves in like practical ways or doesn't have like self-belief? No, that those two things can't go together. They're energetic mismatches. So when we shift one thing in our lives, it has a ripple effect on everything else. And this is where I always say to begin. Start with the smallest possible thing you have. Anything that can just help you alter your identity, even the tiniest little bit, towards something slightly more positive and empowering. Because we're filled with the thought. I'm really like ranting, right?
No.
We're filled with the thoughts.
I'm healing as you're speaking right now, Bri. Like,
healing in the moment.
Absolutely.
I don't even know what I was saying, honestly. I just felt bad. I kept talking, so I just stopped.
Honestly, I think it's important for all of us to know that when we're in those seasons of healing, that if we, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, you go. Okay. I'm getting so emotional, I don't know why.
Bianca.
I think that's something, going off of what you said in regards to the micro shifts, in regards to the what is one thing that you can tell yourself each morning? What is one thing that you can refer back to that can help for you to push yourself forward and to just believe in something you might not have felt yet, because it's very difficult. Life is so quantifiable. We are meaning-making machines, and we want
So well said.
we want to know how things are going to work out.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was going to get like this. Oh, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening.
That's it's all coming out.
Yeah, I don't want to take a sec. I don't know what's happening.
This means a lot to you, Jacqueline.
know.
And you're thinking about all the people who are needing this and hearing this, and you're thinking, also, you know what? Calling back to trauma and calling back to what you've been through is a really hard thing to ask you to do. And so if you need to take a moment, if we need to do a different episode,
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to
let
get
us
like
know.
this.
No.
Okay.
I did not know I was going to feel this. Like, I write about it and I talk about it with you guys and I feel I'm fine.
Being so open and vulnerable with something that, you know,
I just want to tell you the reaction you're having right now is what everyone listening and watching is going to have too. Like in a good way. Mm-hmm. It's just like a testament that like this is powerful.
and also this is something that you're not just talking about. This is
Living.
your life.
Yeah, we're living.
This is your experience, and you are sharing it with the world, and that's how you heal people.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that it's not the most fucking difficult
Yeah.
thing you'll ever have to do, because it calls back a lot.
Yeah. It's like, that's why I say you think you heal from something and then you talk about it and it's like, whoa, maybe not.
That's so beautiful though. That's honestly so beautiful
Yeah.
because when you think about that, people genuinely are always talking about like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm still affected by that. Like, what does that even mean?
Honestly, what I'm
Still
thinking right now
affected?
as you guys are talking, I think it's so important to show up. And I want other people to show up and give themselves permission to sit here and be vulnerable. Obviously, yes, you have to have boundaries, but it's okay to feel. I say it all the time. When the heck am I going to start listening to myself? I have a t-shirt that says, feel your feelings. What the heck?
I put it on a t-shirt.
Why would I sit here and be like, guys, wait, I want to cut this?
Give me your thing. I just gotta fix your.
Thank you.
Pause. I don't want to cut it either.
Thank you.
I think people need to see people showing their feelings. and
Yeah, I
being
don't think it's
supportive.
shown enough. I think, especially in an age of social media and having a presence online, I want people to know the people that you look up to that you think have it together, they have moments where they break a little bit, and that's okay. We're real.
A lot of it. I was just thinking it was like, or I'm on the floor crying, so big break.
That's what healing is. Healing is breaking yourself apart. It is digging up the dirt inside of you. It is laying everything out, and it is looking at it and acknowledging it and feeling it, and that is really tough. It is touching the wound instead of pretending the wound doesn't exist. And when you touch the wound and when you dig up the dirt, when you bring all of that to the forefront of your mind, to your heart, to your soul, especially as someone who feels deeply, because you know you're allowing yourself to unravel and you know that it's going to be a lot, it would be so easy for you to sit here and not do that. But instead, you're allowing yourself to unravel, and that is what healing is. That softness, that softening, that being tender with yourself.
That willingness. I was even going to say, what if like the profound healing happening in this literal moment is the moment that you were willing, like in a public way, to be your true, authentic self. I mean, I cannot dream or fathom of something more powerful. You are so powerful.
Why do we sit here and tell ourselves, like, why was I sitting here when you were speaking before I broke down a little bit, saying, hold back the tears, Jacqueline, hold back the tears, don't break, people don't want to see that.
Well, we've been taught that. We've
been taught
Yes,
That's why.
and that's why I wanted to ask you both that question. So why do we tell ourselves
Jacqueline?
not to feel?
Because we've been taught that, and I think that, not to get like too like clinical about it,
No.
and cold, but
I'm learning
I
right now.
think bringing up science and bringing up like fact sometimes
it's helpful, right?
is actually extremely helpful because
Yeah.
you can't blame yourself.
So what I think it is, and this is genuinely my opinion, is that when we are young, we have no emotional management skills. So we have to be parented into not like throwing a fit every time we go to the grocery store. That's appropriate because that's inappropriate behavior. But what can start to happen is that we associate that negative feeling as being something we are not allowed to feel. And what was I just saying? The things we repress come out in far more pronounced ways, almost because we've given them so much energy in trying to hold them back. That's an effort and an energy too. And something where in another world you would have been simply allowed to feel, you kind of bullied yourself into saying, don't go there, Jacqueline, when it's like, but going there is what like frees everyone to also know that they can go there, I can go there, you can go there, everyone watching can go there too. And I think that probably something else we don't, I mean, I've never seen it, this maybe is the first time, have watched like two people who love you, like walk you through those moments. I've never seen anything like that before. I didn't do it in my personal life. I've experienced it, and I know from experiencing it, like there's nothing more profound and beautiful than being like held by the people who love you and knowing like it is okay. It's okay to feel, it is okay to go there. It's okay to still be on your journey. We all are.
We're all on our journey constantly, and we have to just to keep going on the journey and know that we're always finding our way to where we're meant to be. And another thing that I was wanting to ask both of you is, why do we numb ourselves to feeling? Why do we numb ourselves to getting to the other side where there's that possibility that we're going to be okay? Why do we not even give ourselves the moment of, wait, I do deserve to be okay. I do deserve to live a life that's filled with joy and love. Why do I keep letting darkness come into my life? Why do I keep repeating these patterns of choosing darkness over joy? We all deserve to feel that love and joy daily. It shouldn't be something that's far away. We should feel it now. We should know that we deserve to feel it now. And it breaks my heart that society has fallen into this pattern of that numbing yourself is okay.
Oh my, well, that's a big issue, I would say, for sure.
I think that, as I was saying earlier, we've been given so many opportunities to do so. We've been primed in our youth, even in our relationships. We have not been loved by people who were able to hold us in the mess, and so we have taught ourselves how to numb it or push it down. There are so many different scenarios in which the world is giving us the opportunity to distract ourselves and to pretend that the wound doesn't exist. It is the bravery and the courage that exists in acknowledging it and seeing it and healing it. However, human beings on a biological level, in order to, again, have survived as a species, we had to assess risk. And so we are always assessing risk. Vulnerability somewhere along the lines was considered an extremely risky behavior. That's why people say emotionality is risky, because you're not thinking clearly. And when you hear things like that your whole life, when you have been taught how to assess risk, not just mentally, but physiologically, it is literally knit within your cells in order to survive. You don't want to put yourself through anything that could potentially hurt you. Emotionality is considered hurtful. You don't want to feel that way. You have an averse reaction to that. It is pain. It's painful. It's extremely painful to heal. But without
the breaking, you can't have the breakthrough.
Oh,
without the breaking, you cannot have the breakthrough.
I also think the darkness is very seductive. I think it is subtle, and I think it is seductive, and I think it entices us, and it does so by making us believe that its usefulness is to keep us safe. What is our most primal instinct, the thing we would be more motivated toward than anything else, especially after we've gotten hurt? It's almost like it creates this opening where it's like, hey, if you worry about this constantly and dwell on it nonstop and think about it nonstop and hold yourself back from ever doing anything ever again, then you'll never get hurt again. And it's like, that's actually not the truth. It feels true in that moment, but actually the way we could hurt ourselves more than anything is by allowing an unfair circumstance to become an unlived life. By holding ourselves back forever from one mistake we made or one thing we went through. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I realized my fear was not keeping me safe more than it was holding me back from love, from connection, from what I was meant for. And I think that part of life is also having the whole range of emotions, the highs and the lows. And part of doing anything worthwhile is that it's hard. It is hard, and it will test you, and it will break you sometimes, but it is about what is worth suffering for. What is worth suffering for? And I don't think our pasts are it.
No. Absolutely not.
I would rather feel fear and maybe get hurt, at least going towards something that means something to me, versus staying in fear and hurt over something that's long gone.
Another question, yes. Another
we write about this, we talk about this. We obviously have a lot to say, so I think it's extremely cute that we're all just like, yeah. Something that I always say, and I think one of the most profound lessons I had to teach myself, and it's something I ask myself whenever I do have a fear response, or whenever I don't necessarily want to deal with something, or I'm convincing myself that I'm going to get hurt. I always say, you have the potential to be hurt in any situation that you go through in life. We usually think about this along the lines of relationships, right? Like, I don't want to open myself up to potential hurt, but that also means that we are closing ourselves off to potential joy.
Yes.
So when we ask ourselves, what if I get hurt? Or what if I will never heal? Why don't we reframe it and ask ourselves, what if we heal? What if I open myself up and I find the most profound love, healing, self-acceptance, joy that I have ever experienced in my life, something that I never would have experienced if I kept myself closed to the world. Instead of believing in what we have experienced in life and letting that convince us that that is all that is for us, what if I allow myself to believe that I'm going to be okay? What if you allow yourself to feel that? How would the world open?
That's exactly it.
I also think that we are not meant to get to the end of our lives, to arrive to death like perfectly intact, never having experienced anything. We're not supposed to get through this unscathed. The hurt is just as valuable as the joy and passion and love. It is a gift. We are here for lessons. We are here to learn. Without one, we cannot have the other.
I think sometimes the universe, God, throws us on our knees, puts us in a situation because it's like, I know this is, trust me, I know you're going to transform your life going through this. You are going to transform who you are, and you're going to transform lives by going through this. You never know what your healing is going to help, how it's going to help someone else heal.
Not one of us would be sitting at this table today. Not one of our books would be published. Not one thing would be happening if we had not all been through something that at one point brought us all to our fucking knees, 100%.
I think, and a lot of times I find that when we open up, it gives someone else permission to open up. And if we can be honest about our stories and share parts of our lives with other people, we don't realize how many people have felt similar things that we're feeling. We think we're the only ones in it, but we're never alone in what we're feeling.
I like everyone.
Every
Absolutely.
single human being on this earth. And we write a lot about different topics, and if you read the comments on any of our social posts, or if you read the reviews on any of our books, how did you know? It's like you're in my head.
It feels like you wrote what
like
I was thinking.
I'm in my head, that's why.
I'm in my head, and we are collectively all dealing with the same things. You might not have gone through the same heartbreak as me. I might not have felt the same exact emotion as you. We are all living in our own worlds. Each mind is a different universe. But we have been at a point where we have felt broken. We have all been hurt, and we have all been someone who hurts. And there are so many versions of ourselves that we can hold ourselves to, but when we learn how to let all of that go, that is when we truly ascend.
I think that's the whole thing with healing. You go through something that changes your life, and that's something that comes into your life to change it, wants to change you. And until you make the choice to change, you will constantly be going through thing after thing. And it's so important to remember, and I want to wrap this up. And thank you so much for both of you being here, and anyone that is listening. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being a safe space. Whatever you're going through, you will get through. Mm-hmm. And healing clearly is an ongoing journey that we're working through. But listen, we're working through it, and that's the bravest thing you could do for yourself. is get into it. See that darkness in front of you. Know that you have a light in your heart that is pouring out of you and pushing that darkness away. It's not there. It's not meant to come into you. You are a light, and your light, shine it out. You don't know who you're going to help. You will save yourself, but you will also save other people. So I want to wrap it up there.
Yeah.
That episode.
Yeah, that's a great place.
I think
that's you know what?
What
Let's
else are
go
we
with
gonna say?
that.
That was
That was perfect.
that episode healed me. I didn't know that was going to happen, but that's what this is about. That's what Isn't That Poetic is about, is to bring yourselves, your raw selves, and just be open to change and be open and taking control of your life. So with that, thank you everyone for listening to Isn't That Poetic. We appreciate you so much for being here and giving us the permission to open up to you and to be that receiving end of someone accepting what we're saying and maybe feeling a little bit more okay after this conversation, or a little more of a permission to go into that healing and open up. You are not alone. If you'd like to connect with us further, you can find our books and more in the description box below. Please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts so we can connect and we can grow with you in this community. Until next time, thank you for being here.
Thank you.